This week on Cageside Seats, the podcast, we're talking Ronda Rousey rumors and our Royal Rumble previews. It's a very nice, very evil podcast.
Welcome to Cageside Seats, the podcast. We don't have a good name, but we do have great opinions. I'm your host, Stella Cheeks, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Marcus Benjamin.
Hey, people, and hey, Stella, what's going on?
Nothing much. Just getting ready for the Rumble this weekend. Staying hype.
Did we ever figure out where it's emanating from? We were supposed to figure that out.
Oh, man, you put me on the spot.
We didn't. That's a joke. That's a joke for us, not for you. It's for us. We didn't do our jobs, guys. Sorry. So, it's coming from some arena in this country that's not getting blanketed by snow this weekend.
It's coming from the Dome at America Center in St. Louis, Missouri.
Yeah, they're definitely not getting hit with snow. That's for sure. So, all right, St. Louis, buckle up for the Royal Rumble this weekend.
For the Royal Rumble. You got Rumble plans? You doing a Rumble party?
You know what? I'm not.
We're going to do a Rumble party with my little pandemic pod, and we'll each just pull 10 numbers each.
That's cool.
I'm excited.
That's better what I'm going to do, which is sit here and write about it. So, yeah.
I love watching pay-per-views with other people because it's the unspoken rule of watching wrestling with me is that if you say something funny out loud, I get to put it on the Twitter. So I get whole room of comedians feeding me tweets.
It's great. That's awesome. You're crowdsourcing your job. It's fantastic. Yeah. It's great.
I got my Malort. Let's go. Royal Rumble.
Oh, boy.
Don't drink Malort. It's not good for you.
That PSA brought to you by Cageside Seats, the podcast.
All right, let's hit some news before we get into our Rumble predictions. So the two items that I pulled this week for news were the ones that are the most interesting to me because I make the list. It's the AEW departures. There are rumors about who is departing, but we know that contracts are coming up. And based on who's showing up on TV and who's not showing up on TV so much, there's been a lot of conjecture around that. But we know, this is probably going to be their first wave of releases, big wave of releases. We're so, desensitized to WWE releases, but AEW's got a thick roster, and they're bringing in new people all the time, and they're using a lot of their roster really well, but there's some fat that could be cut.
Yeah, everyone can't show up on Dark and Dark Elevation and Rampage and Dynamite and whatever else they come up with for YouTube. It's impossible. You said they have a thick roster. The first name I think of when you talk about thick in a roster, Brian Cage, thick in that dude. He's probably gone. Which is unfortunate because he was the member of Team Taz. He was the guy. He was the cornerstone. He was the FTW champion.
Yeah, but Team Taz is fine without him.
You're right, because Team Taz has Hook.
Flourishes without him. They have Hook, but they also have Powerhouse Hobbs in his fine-ass fur coat in the middle of snow in Cleveland.
That was the illest thing I saw this week. Him out there on the beach, and it was a beach, in the fat fur, with the overalls,
no shirt,
right? Hobbs is the hardest man alive. He's the gangster for that.
I have liked Powerhouse Hobbs since he got signed, but that was the moment where I was like, "Oh, I'm Team Hobbs, 100%."
And then they still got Ricky, who to me Ricky's the man.
I
love Ricky. So they don't really need Cage. And then Leo says he's gone. So that's
he'll
one
be
guy
back in a month. I can set a calendar by that guy coming and going.
Well, who else do you think is going to go? We got Leo, we got who's a definite, we got Cage, who's rumored to be gone.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Sonny Kiss is gone. They made a big deal about signing him, and then they didn't really use him, and then they made those awesome videos with him and Joey Janela, and they never followed up on that. And Sonny's just kind of been getting his ass kicked by Joey and his new heater, who we can't talk about her on this podcast because we will get an explicit rating.
If we talk about her, there are certain names we can't do. Her, Jamie Hayter. I can't talk about Jade Cargill. It's a lot of things. But speaking of which, where is Joey, and where is his heater? Because
They were on
I haven't.
Dark, I think, this week.
Okay,
I
so no, so we were at the taping for Dark. Well, we were at the taping for Dark. We missed the taping for Dark Elevation, so they
ah
must have been on Dark Elevation because Sonny was on Dark, and me and Sean and Cal were wondering, oh, what happened to Joey? Where's Joey? Oh, so all right, yeah, and I don't even know if they keep Joey.
yeah, I don't
Even
know
with this
either.
heater.
She's great. Her name's Kayla Rossi. She's a former bodybuilder, I think, but she did I think it was a standing shooting star. I can't remember off the top of my head, but she's got some moves. Like, I don't know if they were bringing in a new person to work alongside him, but even if Joey leaves, I want her to stay because she would be a cool addition to their women's roster. Their women's roster could get more people. Like, that's a place
Yes,
where there isn't a lot of fat. They could get more
yeah,
people. So
yeah. Cut some of the guys, add more women. That feels like a fair trade
that
off,
is
especially
my
because.
life philosophy, personally. That's how I live my life.
Well, especially when the guys aren't of use to you, why not cut them? I
Yeah.
agree. Like if you're not using Cage, you're not using Janela the way you should. You're not using Sunny Kiss, and Sunny Kiss is a good wrestler. He's a good and he's excited. Like he can get the crowd in the palm of
Yeah.
his hands. But
It is heartbreaking to me that they don't use Sunny because Sunny is an excellent performer and
mhm.
would really bring a different element to their main roster. And every time they've used Sunny on main TV, it's gone over. It's been great. And there's always like two deciding factors for me as like somebody who's just sitting on my couch watching, thinking like, who are they going to release? It's like, who should they release, right? Who is maybe not a good wrestler? Who is maybe not bringing anything to the brand? And then that other more gray area of like, maybe you should release this person so they could go do other stuff because you are wasting their talent. And I feel
Mhm.
like that was Sunny.
Yeah, same. I can't. It's tough because they are already a very heavy roster, like you said, and there are a lot of good people like Sonny, like Joey, like
Yeah.
Cage, who and there's a couple more guys I could think of who were in the what's Dolph Ziggler's little brother's group name, like the gentlemen or whatever they are, like
Yeah. Oh God.
that.
They were on TV like 1 week.
Yeah, like them, like
Men of fashion,
no, no,
gentlemen
that's so there's Men of the Year,
men of the year
and
who
then
have better
them.
fashion than the like gentlemen or whatever.
Yes, yes. So even those guys, where it's like, all right, we can't keep using you on dark. We can't keep using you in dark elevation. Well, I mean, to be fair, they could, but it's like, well, what is that their ceiling? If that's their ceiling, then they need to go.
I think they're called the wingmen.
The wingmen, yes, that's what it is. I was thinking of something about dating. So yes, the wingmen. That's exactly who they are. And then they right, they have this thing where they do like their version of the everybody put their hands in, and but it's with pinkies or with their rings or something like that. It's weird. That's their call sign, and it's a bunch of talented dudes who are normally just on dark or dark elevation, and if that's their ceiling, like I just said, let them fly.
Yeah.
Like they're good, but they're not serving a purpose. It's not the John Cena thing from last week where, hey, if you're not Vince McMahon, sorry. But it is very much, you can't carry all that weight for your brand. And everybody on the roster needs to serve a purpose. The problem with AEW and any wrestling company once they become big is that you start having multiple people who fulfill the same purpose.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have the wingmen who are kind of like a comic relief stable, well, you also have Dark Order, who at times is a comic relief stable.
Yeah. Especially in the past like half a year, like they've turned into a comedy stable. They used to be like a weird incel cult, and now they're
Yeah.
like a fun comedy stable.
Right. And so it's like, all right, well, do we have a place for them if we're doing that? And then, of course, as we talk about, as we know, AEW is the place of stables.
Right.
You can't have all these people together. Like it's just, so I don't know, man. Like it's tough. I'm not going to bash anybody and say, oh, well, they definitely need to go. I'm going to look at it from a human standpoint and say it's tough. It sucks. But the benefit is with the wrestling landscape, as we discussed last week, they'll find somewhere to go.
Hopefully, yeah. Speaking of brands and Vince McMahon,
I know where this is going.
WWE is no longer a mom and pop company. We're a
I
big
heard.
corporate brand. So corporate that we're getting into bed with Disney, the king of the corporations. Don't you just love monopolies? I don't know about you, but I personally love having one choice and being told what I'm supposed to watch at all times. It's my favorite.
We all love Disney Plus. Apparently, not as much as WWE and Vince McMahon. For those of you who do not know, it's Disney Plus now has the Indonesian rights, correct?
I think so. Yeah. Let me
Yeah,
double
the
check.
Indonesian rights to WWE Network. So overseas, if you're in the right country and you turn on Disney Plus, you're going to see Vince McMahon and friends, which obviously harkens back to the rumor from God knows how many years ago that Disney wanted to buy WWE, or at least WWE wanted Disney to buy them. And this is one more step into the notion that wrestling fans really need to wrap our heads around. WWE is not a wrestling company. Nick Khan said it in an interview this week. They are a content company. That's what
Yeah,
they
they're a
are.
publicly traded company.
Yep. It is not about wrestling. It is about content. It's about creating whatever for you to put your eyeballs on, and getting in bed with whomever is going to show those eyeballs everything they want. In this case, it's
And have
Disney.
those eyeballs spit money at them.
Right. Because if the game Monopoly taught us anything, do not pass go without collecting $200. Disney and WWE make sure they collect $200 every single time with every venture. I mean, look, we know this was coming, consolidation, like that's where we're headed. It sucks. I'm never going to rely on businesses to do what's quote unquote best, because they're always going to do what's best for them,
Mhm.
not what's best for anybody else, even if it
Though
looks like they're doing something.
I will
What's
say
up?
it is nice to have access in other countries, right? Like
Yeah, oh, yes, yes,
the
yes, yes,
fact
yes,
that
yes,
it's like
yes, yes,
that it
yes.
is an international deal, like that is a positive, right? Like
Right, right.
corporations should make their content accessible to everyone, not just to the people in, the West or America or whatever. So that is an upside, but also
Yes,
monopoly is bad.
right. And again, this is a prelude to things to come with this company. So, and by this company, I mean WWE, not Disney. Disney's already told us what their game plan is to control everything. This is a prelude to what Nick Khan described in this interview from this week. WWE is having a seat at a bigger table and being looked at as more than, like you said, a mom and pop wrestling organization. That's
that
not what they want to be seen as.
that mouse wants it all.
Well, you got to pay him, man. Did you see that South Park episode where he's basically Tony Soprano?
No, but that makes sense to me.
Yeah, he's basically Tony Soprano, and he's going around just collecting money from everybody and just telling them they owe him, they work for him. That's real.
If I'm gonna watch a mobster or anything, I'm gonna watch the Star Trek episode, A Piece of the Action, the best hour of television ever created.
Every time I watch that, I think of you. I'm like, somewhere Stella's smiling.
It's the best. Something to make me not smile. Let's talk about Ronda Rousey.
The rowdy one.
Just like grumble. We're gonna be like, oh my god, my headphones are not working. The big rumor that is probably not a rumor is that Ronda Rousey is coming back for the Women's Royal Rumble, and she's probably gonna win it. And she's probably going to face Becky at WrestleMania, which I don't mind that part. Like, they have unfinished business. Like, if she's going to come back, I don't want her to win the title. I would like her to be in a feud with Becky and have Becky keep it. But maybe I'm just like pie in the sky, naive little child here. But, Ronda Rousey's return was always inevitable. If she's going to return, it does make sense to come back in the Rumble because the Rumble is exciting. That's when people come back. They already blew their load on all of these other announcements. And also, it is kind of a nice storytelling bookend of how she came out and pointed to the sign before and her coming out and maybe winning it. Do I love it personally? No, I do not think she is a good wrestler. Do I understand it? Yeah, I do.
First of all, I'd like to take full blame for this because this is on us, because we said they have to have more surprises, right? Because
Yeah.
this
Oh, we
can't
cursed
just be
ourselves.
it. It can't just be these people, because they announced everything, right? No, is that it? Turns out that's not it. Yeah, it's a rumor that we all know is true. It's going to happen. It was always a question of when, not if. Like you said, good story. Yeah, Ronda, Ronda and Becky. What I like about that though is that they're very it. It's a very like Kate like real. It feels real. Like their entire thing feels real.
Yeah.
It really feels like Becky does not like that woman. I don't know whether she.
Relatable.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I completely get it. I
And
mean, what's
Becky's
their?
full heel now, right? And they
Yeah,
always want Ronda to be a babyface.
that is
So
true.
so like it does make sense storytelling wise. I just hope that if Ronda comes back, the makeup team who hates her comes back too. That was always funny. She would walk out and be like, "Whew, whoever did her makeup hates her." And those are choices. Though, I mean, one of my overall complaints about WWE is that the WWE hair and makeup people are still doing hair and makeup for a non HD audience, and they make a lot of the women look bananas. So,
I was under the impression that they just did what Krusty the Clown had on one of the Simpsons episodes, where it's just like a makeup gun that just shoots him.
or in
That's what
like
I
the
was under
Fifth
the impression.
Element, just like put it up to your
Yes.
face, click, and walk away.
That's what I always thought, because as someone who doesn't wear makeup and has no real idea of what looks good or what doesn't look good, I can tell when it just looks awful. Of
Yeah.
just like, that's not cool. And there's a lot of that with Ronda specifically, and that's not a Ronda thing. That is purely that's a consistent thing on the Glam Squad or whatever they're called.
The Glam Squad.
Yeah, and it needs to stop. I again don't mind them beefing. It wouldn't be my choice. Like I feel like we could do something else with Becky, but I do feel like this is probably what Becky wants too.
Yeah.
If that helps.
Gets her heat, it secures her spot. Not that she's like necessarily worried about her spot, but it's good for Becky. It's good for big time Bex.
It's great for big time Bex, and it's what Bruce Pritchard says Vince's one of Vince's things is, which is he looks at the poster. He looks at the poster for WrestleMania and says, okay, does this top last year? Or how did is this as big as last year? So last year we had Bianca and Sasha. This year, yeah, how do you top that? Well, we go Ronda and Becky. I get it. Again, not my call, but I get it. It's what's good for business, as
Why can't
as
we have
Vince and
Nikki
Triple H
versus
and stuff say.
Charlotte? That's a long time story too.
I agree, but Vince wants
I know.
Vince wants what Vince wants, and Ronda.
And
Well,
Ronda
that's a
has
question.
appeal outside of wrestling. Blah blah
Does
blah.
she? This is what I'm going to ask you. Does she still have that? And I'm real talk. I'm not being a jerk. Those of you out there in podcast land, like real talk. Ronda's been away from everything for a while, like a long while. She was wrestling, and then she took time off to give birth and become a mom. She's been away for a while. Is that audience still going to be there for her?
Well, maybe not in the same sense that people are like maybe huge Ronda Rousey fans, but in the sense that she has name recognition outside of people who just know WWE.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
they always want that, right? They want name recognition. And sometimes it works out in their favor, like Bad Bunny.
Who may or may not be entering the Royal Rumble also, which is one of our rumors.
I will lose my mind.
That Bad Bunny and the best in the world, let's not forget that, best in the world, Shane McMahon, might be entrance into the Royal Rumble. That is a tasty rumor. It makes sense with Bad Bunny because he was really, really on point at WrestleMania.
And he liked it. And if he
and
has
he
time to do a couple quick spots and then leave, like he doesn't have to do a huge program like he did at Mania, but if he could just get that pop, like Bad Bunny should be in every Royal Rumble forever.
Yeah, I agree. If Johnny Knoxville can get in, why can't Bad Bunny? And Bunny's got a tour to promote, so it's not just him showing up for Rumble because he likes it. He's also trying to get that pub. He's trying to get that rub. I get it, man. No problem. Shane pops the crowd like he just still does.
As long as he shows up and then leaves, I'm fine with it. I can't be having another 25-minute Miz versus Shane match. No,
No
thank
one
you.
can. No one can. Not even the Miz. Not
Yeah.
anymore.
The
Miz has
Miz
moved
deserves
on.
better.
Miz does deserve better. A whole lot better.
I'm going to give them credit. The swerve of the big box, but the big box just had a brick in it, was
Right.
very good. It was very good. And they were like, what do you think? We're stupid? It's a human-sized box. We're not that dumb. It popped me really hard. I thought it was very funny.
I like that entire segment. My one issue with it, before we get into this, let me dovetail real quick. My one issue with that, and not even the segment, but just the story overall. Let me ask you this, Stella. If you get hit with a brick 1 week, right? Are you going to wait for the entire show of Monday Night Raw before you try to get revenge on the person who hit you with said brick? Or are you going to be up in their face as soon as you get to the arena?
See, I think this really goes back to character work. Beth and Edge are beastly. I mean, their muscles are crazy right now, but they're also really smart, right? And I could see Edge being like, I'm going to go kick their butts, and Beth being like, no, we're going to time this so that we ruin their night. And so I think it works. Beth is devious.
And just like that, you talked me out of it, because my whole thing was not that they shouldn't have done it when they did it, but I would have liked to have seen it teased out through the show.
That's
like
fair.
I like when Raw has a running storyline, and it builds to a crescendo, and that crescendo was, oh, we're going to get you right here. Like there should have been a thing where Beth, Edge comes to the arena just hot, mad, and just, where's Miz? And tearing everything up and spearing everybody because he's Edge and he's crazy. And then Maurice is like, no, like you said, we're not going to do it this way. And then
You mean
Beth's
Beth?
Like, Beth, I'm sorry. Beth is like, what do you mean? We're not going to do it this way. And Edge is like, but why? Why not? And then she says, because we're going to be smarter than that. And then they go off and they plot.
Well, yeah, because then everybody would think like, oh, they're hiding in that box. Yeah.
But we thought they were hiding in the box anyway. So I guess, I guess it's sort of a look. The point was they could have done it either way. The box thing worked. That was the main point.
I mean, Raw could always use more Beth Phoenix, so I do agree with that.
It could use more Edge at this point because Raw is, kind of boring. So yeah, more radio superstar.
What's living rent free in your head this week?
They showed the trailer for WWE 2K22. Now
that trailer is dope.
It is dope, and I've been misled by these trailers before, and this is the thing that keeps going back in my head. I've played WWE's wrestling game since 1993, 94. So so we're talking Raw, Royal Rumble, No Mercy, Attitude, Warzone, WrestleMania 2000, all SmackDown versus Raw, all of them. Like just played these games. And then 2K got the license, and I figured, okay, cool, this might work because 2K makes really good wrestling games. Well, good video games, period.
Good sports games.
Yeah, and this is the company that publishes Grand Theft Auto. So I'm like, all right, yeah, go ahead, why not? And there are a couple entries, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool. And then obviously, a couple years ago, they belly flopped, and they put the series on a shelf for a year. And now they're doing this whole big rollout. They had Ray, as the cover boy, and he was excited about it on Raw last week. And he went out and, he obviously got the win for his team. No way Ray was going to lose that tag team match after they just said he's the cover boy for WWE 2K22, celebrating 20 years of his WWE career. No way he was going to lose. And it got me excited. But then I remember, oh, that's right. I've been excited before. And I don't want to be disappointed by this game. And normally I do not read reviews for games. Like, it's just like, look, if I want the game, I'm going to go get it. I'm waiting for reviews for this one because I need to make sure the game's not broken. That was the problem with the last version of this. It was broken. Not that it was, bad, good can be subjective. But when a game does not work, that is objective. The game did not work. I'm nervous because, again, all this hoopla, and they got all these different versions. They have the NWO for Life version. And, there's all these different pre-orders. They have an Undertaker version where you can get 3 versions of the Undertaker. One of him with his mask.
Do they have a Kane version, though?
He's probably involved in one of them. Kane is in the game. I know that. I saw him in the trailer and in screenshots. But it's just I don't know, man. It comes out in a month. It comes out
You
in
got
March.
burned.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm like a scorned lover. I don't know if I'm ready. If I don't know if I'm completely healed and ready to get back into this relationship again. I just don't. I've had my time, but I noticed the wounds are still there, and therapy didn't work. Ice cream didn't work. Going to play other games didn't even work. I'm just really, really afraid to dive back into this relationship.
It is kind of like a brilliant meta scheme of like, they have these incredible videos and trailers and they get you so hype and it's characters you love and you have nostalgia for it and oh I have all these reasons why I love it, and then you play it and it's terrible. That kind of feels like WWE, right? Like, I have all this nostalgia for it. I love it. There are these characters that I love. The WWE video team is like truly next level.
Hmm.
The video people at WWE deserve like Emmys, literally. They're
Hmm.
incredible. And so it's kind of brilliant. I mean, you obviously want a game that works, and it's not the point to be like, hey, we tricked you into another one of our shitty products, but it kind
Yeah,
of is like that.
yeah. And it's like, but it's like bare minimum, man. At least work. Like
Yeah.
that's my like. At least don't be a broken game. Like I have to. I don't know if you saw those pictures from their last version where Becky Lynch looked horrific. If you haven't seen them, I will send them to you after the show. She like it might give you a nightmare.
Who was the cover person for that game?
I believe that year was Becky and Roman.
Okay. Yeah. I think the last time I picked up a WWE game was the year that Seth was the cover, I think.
Okay, yeah, I know which one that was. Yep, I actually
Yeah.
just saw that in my game library when I was going through my game library. It's like, oh, I remember when I bought that. Yeah, no, it's. I think it was Becky and Roman. That was the whole thing of we're gonna have two cover people, and that was the commercial where Becky showed up at this party of all these legends,
Oh,
and she
yeah.
was crashing the party, and Roman said, "Good job, man." Like because we're being clever. But I don't know, man. What about you? What's living rent free in your head? Because I'll talk about video games all day.
What's living rent free in my head? Danhausen's living rent free in my head.
Of course he is. I don't even know why I asked.
My head is very nice and very evil. I was so excited. If you don't know Danhausen, you're probably with a lot of people who don't. He is a wrestler that kind of became famous due to the internet because he creates very funny videos and creates videos with other kind of internet darling wrestlers like RJ City or Warhorse. He has a ridiculous character where he has crazy face paint and he's maybe like a demon, but he hates swearing and he puts Hausen at the end of everything. And it shouldn't work, but it does. He's so committed to it and it's very fun and funny. And he also is like a pretty good wrestler. He's done some stuff in ROH and lots of indie stuff. And it was just fun to see him. He's been injured and he pops up out of the ring, doesn't really do anything, gets one of the biggest pops of the night. Twitter freaks out, and then they announce that he's actually signed with AEW because I thought like, oh, okay, he probably just popped out to get like a fun reaction, and like, no, he's actually there, and AEW could use some more comedy wrestlers, especially a mid-tier wrestler. Like he's not going to be in a main title scene or anything, but he is funny and consistent and the people who know him love him, and I think AEW has done a good job of getting comedy stuff over. And so I think people who are getting introduced to him will really like him. And AEW still does a fair amount of internet stuff like YouTube interviews or YouTube channel stuff. I think being the elite is still happening, and like he's perfect for
Hmm.
that type of
Hmm.
stuff. Like he is perfect to be their internet darling, and he's also just like a cool dude, and I'm happy for cool dudes who get cool stuff. And it was fun, though I do think it was kind of a mistake for them to have him come out in the Orange Cassidy Adam Cole match because then nobody gave a shit about that match. Like it had a good ending and like people did care, but most of like Twitter at least was like, whatever, we're talking about Danhausen now. I don't care about
Mm.
this. But I think that wrestling sometimes is so serious, and wrestling lately has been really serious, and that's fine. Like, good serious wrestling, we love it, but it was nice to have some levity, and I'm just personally excited for that, and I'm really curious to see how they integrate him into the roster.
So this was my introduction to him, and and I got to see the conversation in our Slack about what he is and who he is and how it would work. And the minute you and Sean said, "Well, it's a comedy guy," I was like, "Okay, cool, I got it. That
Yeah.
works, perfect." You're right, because they do need more of that, and it'll be interesting to see how they use him when you have someone like Orange Cassidy who can do both, but they're moving Cassidy to more of a serious role because
Because
they're
Orange Cassidy is actually a very, very good
exactly,
wrestler.
exactly, which is why he can go as long as he went with Adam Cole, which is why he can have that triple threat match for the AEW title.
Mm-hmm.
So you need someone to step into that void that he's no longer going to fill because he just can't anymore. Because a football term, he outkicked his coverage.
Yeah.
Like, dude's out there. So I like it. Like, I like when there's variety in my wrestling. As even as the most hardcore wrestling fans will tell you, they like to laugh too.
Mm-hmm.
And we need more of that because, as we just said, Dark Order is becoming, they're comedy, but people really like the Dark Order, like
And they're
really like the
really
Dark Order because they're
talented
really
wrestlers
good.
on that.
Exactly. They're really good. So there's only but so long you can pigeonhole them there, just like with Cassidy, just like with Best Friends. They started as a comedy duo and now.
Right. Well, the thing with like Dark Order and Best Friends and Orange Cassidy is that they are all very funny and self-referential, and they all have like comedy backgrounds and stuff. They're all really, really talented wrestlers, but they're not like absurdist comedy, right? They're great and fun, but somebody like Danhausen is it's like has a supernatural element, is like never breaks character, is ridiculous, and to have somebody like that, and he's a good wrestler too. I'm not just saying like
Mhm.
all these people are comedy wrestlers and also good wrestlers. He's a good wrestler too. It's just that he brings such a wild card element, and he also
Mhm.
has relationships with other or like feuds or whatever with a lot of people on the roster already, so he can show up and have somebody in the Gun Club be like, oh, this guy, like that's fun. And even if
I'm sorry.
Danhausen's
Sorry, the Gun Club. Don't you mean the Ass Boys?
oh, the Ass Boys, I'm sorry.
Yes, Ass Boys. Yes.
I mean, Billy Gunn was always my favorite in DX, so I think that says a lot about me as a person.
You do like that ass.
I'm literally a burlesque dancer. Like,
Yeah, it's true.
of course he was my favorite. But even if Danhausen just exists in the background for a while and just shows up and interrupts segments, I want Danhausen to like walk through a Malachi Black segment. Like he has a lot of potential to bring different elements to the show, and then has the potential to really surprise people when he shows up and kicks ass, which is cool.
Now let's hope he's not just relegated to Dark and Dark Elevation because I like everything that you're saying. I want to see it. Him walking into a Malachi Black segment made me laugh on the inside, but I don't. So again, put him on Dynamite, put him on Rampage. It would be interesting once they really get Moxley situated again. Once they really got him firmly entrenched, it would be funny to see them interact.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
I want to see Eddie Kingston and Danhausen run into each other
Yes.
backstage. Like, I want to see that. Also, Danhausen would be really fun on commentary. Like,
Mm.
I hope that they don't just throw him on the secondary shows. I feel like it would be foolish. Like, he got such a crazy pop. People love him. But I think he still is healing a little bit. So maybe it's like a slow rollout. It was just fun. And Dynamite was a good show. It's not like I was sitting there being like, well, I'm grumble. I wish something fun would happen. Like, it was a good show. It was just like a nice surprise. And it's the season of surprises. It's Royal Rumble season. But
Shout out to Cody Rhodes.
shout out to free agent Cody Rhodes. No longer TNT champion. Thank you.
It's long weekend according to Cody. You never know, we may show
It's
up.
a really busy week for Cody Rhodes. But it was nice to be genuinely surprised. Like, he crawled out of that ring and it was like, oh. I was like on my computer typing up a tweet or something, and I looked up and screamed, and my husband was like, what? And I was like, it's Danhausen. And he was like, I don't know who that is. And I was like, be excited.
Well, I'm glad that went over better than Fuego del Sol showing up in the TNT title match. I was like, what? What
Yeah.
is that? Why?
Well,
That made no sense.
Because they've been, pushing him and Sammy being BFFs or whatever.
Yeah,
And
but
they're
it's a
trying to
ladder
keep
match.
Sammy out of the inner circle divorce. Sammy's about to be a child of divorce, so he needs all the friends he can get.
Yeah, well, we got to save that because we got to get to our Rumble preview because that's an entirely longer conversation. We can deal with the inner circle and Sammy and all that later because I have thoughts, lots of thoughts. We got questions. I'll save it.
Okay, I have quite the question from one of our listeners, Alex P. So let me get through this.
That name sounds familiar.
This is from Alex. I got back into wrestling during the lockdown of 2020 via YouTube, specifically the now defunct Ring of Honor matches. To witness Brody King's introduction to AEW all over Instagram stories felt so invigorating. To have that storyline alongside Brock Lesnar coming back to WWE was beyond fascinating to me, and it begs the question: if WWE is Rocky and Rocky 3 and these smaller companies are Clubber Lang, will there ever be a time when Clubber Lang knocks Rocky on his ass, forcing a reflection and a rebirth? So that was the question we got. I'm just going to step back from this question because I have only ever seen Rocky 1. And the only reason I watch it is because my mom has a big crush on Rocky, not Sylvester Stallone, on Rocky.
I love that you made the delineation. Hold on.
No, it's just Rocky. To the point, 1 year for her birthday, I bought her a Rocky cutout that lives in her bedroom now, which is very funny. But I've only ever seen the first one. I'm a bad moviegoer. Please answer this question.
So before I even answer the question, you need to see Rocky 3.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yes, yes. So for those of you like Stella who have no context of Rocky 3, Rocky 3 is Rocky high on the hog as the champion. And Mickey is setting up easy fights for him while trying to avoid this guy, Clubber Lang, who Mickey says has the eye of the tiger that you don't have anymore, Rock. Not Mickey, I'm sorry. Apollo says that. Apollo said that Clubber Lang has the eye of the tiger and Rock doesn't have it anymore. And Rocky, after some very funny coercing by Clubber Lang that I'm not going to spoil because you haven't seen the movie, eventually decides to fight Clubber Lang against the wishes of his manager, Mickey, and against the wishes of everyone else because they're like, yo, he's going to kill you. And Rock's like, oh, he's not going to be that bad. And then it turns out it is that bad. So yes, Alex, to Alex's point, Rocky was knocked on his ass and he was forced to reevaluate and retrain and get himself together and stop being so high on being champion. There's a line in the movie where he says, you ain't been hungry since you won that title, Rock. So there is a question of whether WWE is complacent. Mick Foley mentioned this in the Attitude Era documentary. It was either the documentary or it's the Monday Night Wars. They do so many of these different things. It's hard, who knows which one. He may have said it in both. But he said that once they bought WCW and ECW, he said they stopped running as hard. Mm-hmm. And he said that, that's natural because you're no longer getting chased anymore. You're no longer chasing someone else. You will slow down. You will get complacent. And I do believe WWE, specifically how they position themselves, as we said earlier, as a content company, they don't see themselves the same way AEW sees themselves, or the way ROH sees themselves, or NWA, or New Japan. They just don't. I don't know if it's possible anymore for them to get knocked on their ass Rocky style, Clubber Lang style, because they're probably too big to fail at this point. They're a publicly traded company. The only thing that's truly going to knock them on their ass is if the sponsors start going to the competition. That's it. AEW probably won't be able to do that because AEW offers a different product.
Mm-hmm.
WWE's TVPG, AEW's TV14. While they speak to the same audience, they don't really speak to the same audience. There's this analogy I use when it comes to rappers, and I'm going to use it here. So Drake and Pusha T had a beef a couple years ago. Still don't really like each other, as far as I'm concerned. And yes, they both rap, but Drake wants to be the biggest artist in the world. That is his goal. Pusha T wants to be the best rapper of all time. That is his goal. They are two very different goals.
Mm-hmm.
They both rap, but they're in different worlds, man. Like, it's not even the same arena. It's not even the same sport at times. And it's like that with WWE and everybody else. So while we might hope as wrestling fans that some company's going to come along and push them and really make them challenge themselves the way WCW did back in the mid 90s, I don't know. I just don't think that's possible anymore. And not because the other companies aren't good. AEW is doing great stuff. ROH, when ROH is a thing, does great. Impact's doing great stuff. New Japan consistently does great stuff. It's just WWE's playing in a different league right now. Based off of that acquisition they made more than 20 years ago and where it's put them now.
What Marcus said.
I mean, you can never go wrong with that, man. I'm just saying.
So in lieu of a lightning round this week, we're just going to do our Royal Rumble predictions. These are the Royal Rumble predictions that we're recording on Thursday night. Who knows what will happen on SmackDown? And if you don't care about our Royal Rumble predictions and you really want to know what Sean and Gino and the other Cageside crew thinks, make sure you check out our predictions post on Cageside. All right, here we go. Edge and Beth Phoenix versus The Miz and Maurice. Mixed tag. Who you got?
I got the Grit couple, even though I hate myself for just saying that. I got Edge and Beth. I just think, like, Maurice and Miz are the Hills. And it's the Royal Rumble. And, like, they can take the L and they'll be fine. You
And it's
don't bring
Beth's
Beth.
big comeback.
Exactly. You don't bring Beth back for Beth to lose. Beth didn't come back for that.
Agreed. 100%. That one's easy. That is easy peasy.
All right. Roman Reigns versus Seth freaking Rollins for the Universal Championship.
Roman Reigns.
And we're not laughing at Seth. We're not laughing at Seth.
I think it will be a really good match, but Roman Reigns is not losing. If he loses, it will be at Mania. He's not losing right now. He's at 500. Last Friday, he was at 508 days. I went to theater school. I'm not doing that math. He has a long reign. And they're pushing that narrative of he's never beaten me in a one-on-one so hard that they really want us all to know Roman has never beaten Seth one-on-one, so that when Roman beats Seth one-on-one, it's a bigger deal. I think it will be an awesome match. I'm really looking forward to it. But head of the table.
What Stella said, head of the table's not losing. Now, if the head of the table loses, it'll be at Mania. Not having the Usos there as a nice little wrinkle. We know Seth's not above cheating.
Mm-hmm.
We know Roman's not above cheating. So, but I do agree with you with the narrative is, since you cannot beat me being Seth in this case, one-on-one, and you never have, let's see if you can. I think that alone will make Roman play this straight, which will be an interesting wrinkle to his character. Because the tribal chief normally does whatever it takes to get the job done.
Yeah. You do the job to support your family.
Exactly. That's what you got to do. Right. So what happens if the tribal chief's like, well, it's not about the family right now. This is about me and my pride and my ego.
Mm-hmm.
Does that get in the way, or does that make him fight clean? He's going to be the babyface in this match. So that by itself is going to be interesting because refresh my memory. I don't think Roman, as the tribal chief's, been the babyface, quote unquote babyface, in any match he's had since he's won that title.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
And, the crowd doesn't like Seth. I mean, look at the way he dresses. So, of course, they don't like him. So,
You don't like his
Yeah.
drip?
No, I'm not. Sometimes. Let me rephrase. Sometimes I like Seth's drip. I saw what he wore on Friday. Not a fan of that. So if he, and yeah, I just, yeah, we're wasting too much time and words on this. It's going to be Roman. Come on, let's be serious. Yeah.
All right, Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley, WWE Championship.
Now this gets interesting
Yeah.
because we know it's going to be Brock and Roman eventually.
Mm-hmm. They got to pick that back up. Like, that is a
Right,
perfect Mania feud. Pick that
right,
back up.
right. So do we take the title off Brock now, or do they do the unfortunate thing and take the title off of him in Saudi Arabia?
Or do they just let him have it and then they do a champion versus champion at Mania, which would be boring, but they could.
They could, but then we wouldn't have the other that what we'd say that for, but there's a rumored main event involving Bobby Lashley at Mania that we wouldn't have
Mm-hmm.
if that happens. I will save that for that show.
I don't know. I think it would be exciting and interesting because people are going to look at this match and say, Brock, LOL, bet on Brock.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, Brock. But this is another one of those we've never fought each other matches. This is a dream match. Bobby's over as hell. They want Brock to
Mm-hmm.
get back in the feud with Roman. It makes narrative sense to give it to Bobby.
But the how is the question, because you can't have Brock take an L before he goes to fight Roman to Bobby Lashley. And it's no diss to Bobby Lashley, but it's just the idea of Brock has to remain at God level also. So he's got to lose that title in a way that retains his godhood while bestowing some of it to Lashley so that Lashley can carry it on so that the Mania match between Roman and Brock doesn't
What
look
if
whack.
it's a Paul Heyman swerve and he fucks around with Brock and then Brock has reason to go fight Roman and
Right.
Heyman.
As part of the long con, that it was a long con all
Yeah.
the entire time by the tribal chief and his advocate, not his advocate, I'm sorry, his counselor, the wise man. That would be
That
cool.
is very far-fetched, but narratively, as a storyteller, it would work.
Right. Well, as writers, we think that's best, and they should just hire us.
Yeah. No, I don't want to work for that company. Please don't hire me.
Yeah, they shouldn't hire us. No, we don't want that
Hard
job.
pass.
I remember a friend of mine sent me a job announcement they have for writers. He was like, "You should do this." I was like, "No, I should not. No, thank
I
you."
value myself.
Right. I said something, so I was like, "Dude, I actually like myself. I don't want to work for
I
Vince."
have done a lot of work in therapy, and I feel like it would really undo all of the work I've done.
Yeah, it's like, nah. For the winner, I'm gonna, I'm just gonna go on a limb. I'm gonna say Lashley.
Yeah.
I'll go Lashley.
Team
Yeah,
Lashley. I
yeah.
love Bobby Lashley.
We love Bobby Lashley. So let's just go Lashley. All right, next, Becky Lynch versus Dewdrop for the Raw Women's Championship.
Yeah, that's going to be Becky Lynch.
Yeah, I have no other words. It's gonna be Becky Lynch. I mean, the, you know how you know how you're gonna lose your match when your story is the same story as everyone who came before you.
Yep.
So if your story is, I finally get my opportunity and my shot, and I'm going to prove to you that I deserve my opportunity and my shot, and that just so happens to be the last person's story, and that means you're going to lose. So
Yeah.
Dewdrop's going to lose because there's no motivational factor for her other than I want my spot. That's it.
I will say I do really like the character work that Dewdrop is doing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is absolutely ridiculous, and I will never stop harping on this that they kept that name, whatever. But she is a very talented wrestler. She's also proving herself to be very talented on the mic and to carry character and stuff. Like the way she just steps to Becky, she doesn't step down at all. Like, I like Liv. I would love to see Liv as champion someday, but Liv struggles on that mic. And Becky, it was like Becky's so good on the mic that Liv's struggles were so hot, so spotlit that it was uncomfortable. But Dewdrop's holding her own. And even though she's going to lose this match, I think that people have gotten to know her more through her feud with Bianca and now her feud here, that I hope that she gets some cool stuff to do afterwards because she has proven that she can hang both in the ring and on the mic. And she's cool. And I want her to do more after she gets her butt beat.
Same, especially if this is just a stepping stone for Becky to get to the rowdy one. So, yeah, I know, and it's just like, man, here's the rub. Here's my question for you: does the women's Rumble match, which we will get to very shortly, happen before or after this title match? Because if it happens before, then I think the crowd knows where we're going. If Ronda wins that Rumble, then we know the crowd's going to know. Like, they're like, okay, well, okay. They're not going to do Dewdrop versus Ronda Rousey Mania. And that's not just the Dewdrop. It's Becky. So
Yeah.
does that happen before where it takes the crowd out of it? Or do they hold that in their pocket and say, no, we're going to do that after?
I don't think anybody in the audience thinks that Dewdrop's going to win, so I don't necessarily
Mm.
think it matters. I
Mm.
think that if Ronda is coming out, it makes sense for them to do the Women's Rumble last. There's some big names that we're excited to see. People are really excited about that. People are talking about the Women's Rumble way more than they're talking about the Men's Rumble, have been for weeks. And if they're going to do the big Ronda reveal, that feels like an end of the show thing. Doesn't feel like a beginning of the show thing.
Mm. Mm.
So that's my
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah, there are bigger stars in the Women's Rumble than the Men's Rumble. Easily. Easily. So with that said, Women's Rumble, who you got?
Okay, who do I think is going to win and who do I want
Yes.
to
Okay.
win?
Let's do that. Let's do it that way. Right. Let's do it that way for both. Who do you think is going to win? Who do you want to win?
Well, I'm not dumb. So I do think that Ronda Rousey is probably going to win. Who do I want to win? I want Nikki Bella to win.
Right. Right. Yeah. Ronda's going to win. I want Bianca to win. We've already gone over this. Okay. So, but yeah, it's going to be Ronda. So yeah, it's fine.
Men's Royal Rumble. Who do you think wins the Men's Royal Rumble?
So I'm very confused about this one, and by confused, I
I
mean
don't
I
even
have
know who's
no
in this
freaking
match.
clue. Right. Here's one thing I thought of. We talked about this in our Slack. I wrote it in the Raw recap. There's no, like, not just the idea that anybody could win, because that's always fun. Hey, anybody could win. But there's no setup of who do you think should win. Normally with the Rumble, there's some storyline where there's one wrestler who is just like, I need to be WWE champion, Universal champion. And I'm going to go into this Rumble and destroy these 29 other dudes to get it. This is my goal. This is my destiny. Think Drew McIntyre. Think Daniel Bryan. Think Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels. These guys were obsessed with winning the Rumble, going to Mania. The most we got recently, or actually the past couple weeks when it comes to the Royal Rumble, is Street Profits, the Mysterios, and the Dirty Dogs. Like, and does anybody think one of those guys are going to win? No disrespect to them.
No.
But no, they're not. But that's where the concentration of the actual Royal Rumble story is.
Yeah.
I have no idea who's going to win.
The Men's Royal Rumble has taken such a backseat. So again, that's why I think it makes sense for the Women's Rumble. People are talking about that. People are excited about that. The Men's Royal Rumble is just happening because the Men's Royal Rumble always happens, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Who is the rumor for Bobby at Mania?
Almost.
No.
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
No.
Oh my God.
What?
Yeah.
Man, I must have blacked that out. I read the rumor roundup. I read our site, but
it was in one of our Slack combos where someone, I forget who had the rumor, but that was the rumor that it might be Almost and Bobby at Mania, and I just said, "Oh my God, I don't want it. I don't want it." And you know what? You know what? F it. I'm gonna go with Almost as my winner. Screw it. Just Almost. That's my prediction. Because why not? You know what, man? If he doesn't win, they're going to make him look incredibly strong when he gets eliminated. So I'm going with Almost.
I'm voting with my heart. I'm going with Kevin Owens.
That works too.
Kevin Owens could be my default. I really have no idea. An AJ Styles win could be interesting.
That's my backup. AJ is my backup. Yes. it's again like there's no narrative of like, yeah, it makes sense for this person. I mean, the person who won last year's Rumble has his own business to handle with his wife.
Yeah.
Randy's doing the tag team thing. I
There's a
know.
ton of people in it that would be cool choices or choices that theoretically make sense. But yeah, there's no clear cut winner. I guess like they could give it to Big E to try and make up for his like embarrassing title reign.
They can give it to who? Because apparently they forgot he exists. Yeah, they just he. I don't know where he went. Apparently he was on Talking Smack like a week ago, right? I think. And other than that, Big E's been on a milk carton. He lost to Seth Rollins, and then Big E was my choice before he went missing. Big E was my choice. Like, okay,
Before he
cool.
lost clean.
Yes, he was my choice. And he lost to Seth, and then he ended up on the milk carton, and he showed up on Talking Smack to be there with Kofi. And I just said, okay, well, I guess it's not going to be him because he's not on television.
Okay, who do you think in the men's rumble, and we can do it for the women's too, who do you think gets the most eliminations and who do you think stays in the longest?
Almost gets the most eliminations because they want him to like a powerhouse.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Who stays in the longest though? I'm gonna go with Ray again. I
Yeah,
think because of the 2K thing, he's the cover boy. We're celebrating again 20 years of his WWE career. I think Ray's the Iron Man this year.
that would be a nice like bookend storytelling type
Mm-hmm.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
I like that. Though it would be really great if they gave it to someone like Montez Ford, like somebody who
Yes.
people love, who gets over a lot, but who is in a tag team and frankly should stay in a tag team right now. Like I'm not advocating for any tag team breakups right now. They need to leave their tag teams alone, but it would be nice for him to get a spotlight.
I think like if they are foreshadowing something with all this tag team turmoil Royal Rumble story they're done, it's that Montez will be the star of the Rumble, especially with the Superman move he did this past Monday. So I agree with you there. All right, what about you? So who gets the most eliminations? Who lasts the longest? Who lasts the longest for the women? Who gets the most eliminations?
Ah, this one's hard. I'm thinking a lot with my heart. You know what? I think that they should give somebody like Naomi, the Iron Man,
Mm,
Iron Woman, whatever, because
mm,
her feud with Sonya has been
mm,
going on for a long time. It's building. If and Sonya's whole thing to Naomi is you're not good enough to be here.
mm,
Who do you think you are? Whatever. We know Naomi's not going to win, but if Naomi can walk out as the Iron Woman and then walk
mm,
up to Sonya and be like, "Who's not good? What?" Like, I think that
mm.
could further her storyline in a really positive way, and she is very capable of doing that. So she's my Iron Woman pick.
And who knocks the most people on their ass?
I mean, it would make sense to say Bianca because she's the strongest.
She is the strongest. Yes. Mm.
But it would also be cool to see somebody like one of the older stars. Like it would be cool to see Lita come in and just like kick ass and kick a bunch of people out of the ring. Like,
It
but
would be cool.
it's probably going to be someone like Rhea or Bianca who have the like muscle behind them, which makes sense.
I'm going with Rhea as having the most knockouts. I think they're trying to. I I think they're going to give her this nice little parting shot before she eventually has to deal with Nikki, and that's a nice, just little. All right, cool. You're going to do this thing. Cool, cool, cool. And I
You don't
agree
think
with
that Nikki
you.
knocks her out? I think
No, I
Nikki
think
knocks
eventually
her
she
out.
does. Yes,
Yeah.
Nikki does eventually knock her out, but she's going to get the most knockouts before Nikki comes in and she basically just blacks out and loses all focus and then barrels towards her and Nikki's like, oops, sorry, trapdoor, and that's it. But to the other part, I agree with you. Naomi makes sense as being the Iron Woman. That makes complete sense. That's a fantastic little ditty you just wrote.
Or Aaliyah is the Iron Woman because then she can have the shortest like
Oh, that's true.
roll
Yes,
up
yes, yes,
and then the
yes.
longest Iron Woman.
And they do like their bookends. They do like their bookends.
I
I
do
like
not want
that.
that to happen, but it would be funny on paper, not in real life. Naomi should definitely be the Iron Woman.
What if what if, it would be cool, actually, now I think about it, even I'm sticking with Naomi, sticking with that, but it would be cool if, Nikki's the Iron Woman.
Yeah.
Like, I would like that.
Nikki
That would be
ASH or
cool.
Nikki Bella?
No, Nikki Bella. Sorry, let's be correct. Nikki
Yeah.
Bella was the Iron Woman. That would be cool. And that would really test the waters for, I mean, look, Charlotte's not wrestling,
Charlotte's in
so
this match, remember? Charlotte declared for the
oh,
Rumble.
that's right. Well, she's not defending her title is what I meant.
Right.
Charlotte's not defending her title. So that means that spot at Mania still open.
Mm-hmm. I
Nikki
mean, I
versus
think
Charlotte.
if Nikki, even though my heart wants a Nikki solo run, because while I'm Brie mode for life, Nikki is the better wrestler. If the Bellas are truly coming back and they're not just doing a spot here, they're going for those titles, right? Like they want to add that to their resume. They should add that to their resume. The Bella Twins should definitely be WWE Tag Champions, Women's Tag Champions. That makes sense. That's a great Mania match.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as my heart wants a Nikki Bella Charlotte feud, I don't know if it makes sense.
No, it does. And yeah, it's just, and also Zelina and Carmella aren't really doing anything with those tag titles at the moment.
Yeah.
Like they're just not.
I
So
mean, for Carmella to come out and be like, I'm the most beautiful woman in WWE, and then have their opponents be the Bella Twins, who are literally like built a beauty empire, to come out and be like, well, we're back in WWE. And not that I want a whole feud based on like who's hotter. Like, we don't need like a college era Facebook thing happening. We don't need that. But if that is what Carmella's character is right now, to have Nikki and Brie come back and be like, excuse me, would make sense, at least for the starting of the feud. The whole feud can't be built on that, but as the starting of the feud would make sense.
And it would give them something to do because it feels like they're holding the titles for somebody else right now.
Yeah. I mean, what other women's tag teams are there?
Well, we had that discussion. Yeah. So who knows? Right. So those are our Rumble predictions. They're probably all going to be wrong, but
I'll be there in my Come On Nikki shirt screaming for Nikki Bella, but I know who's winning this Rumble.
And I will be there wearing my Shawn Michaels shirt, even though he's not wrestling. There you go. That's all I got.
All right, that's it for this week. Don't stress. We'll be back next week where we'll talk about how wrong we were.
And if you'd like to be on the podcast, make sure to send your recorded questions and comments to cagesideSocials@gmail.com, and you might be featured on next week's episode to tell us how wrong we were.
Or tell us how right you were. If you won your Royal Rumble party, I want to know. If you want to follow us on Twitter, I'm at Stella_Cheeks.
And I'm at Abstract Poetic, a 3 with that E supposed to be.
And of course, you can find more wrestling coverage at Cageside Seats on Twitter and Instagram.
And if we missed something you desperately want to talk about, head over to CagesideSeats.com and chat with us in the comments of this episode post. We do chat back.
Until next time, Cagesiders.
The tapes are always rolling.